I don't usually talk about my internship year. When people ask, I just say night rotations were exhausting and move on. That part is true, but it's not the real reason I asked to be taken off overnight shifts permanently. I was a medical student doing my internship at a mid-sized hospital in the US. Not a trauma center, not a rural clinic. Just the kind of place that stayed open all night because it had to. During overnight rotations, interns handled the quiet work, chart updates, medication checks, monitoring patients who were technically stable. Most nights blended together. At first, nothing felt wrong. Then I started noticing small things. Patient charts would change after I updated them. Not major changes, just slight adjustments. Medication times shifted. Notes appeared that I didn't remember writing, signed with my ID. When I checked the access logs, they didn't show anyone else touching the charts. I assumed I was overtired. Night shifts mess with your memory. To be sure, I started leaving small markers, underlining lines twice, adding timestamps, sticky notes. When I came back later, the charts were still different. I asked a senior resident if the system ever auto-updated things overnight. He looked confused and said, "No. If it changes, someone changed it." That answer bothered me more than it should have. Around the same time, I noticed certain rooms were always prepared. Fresh sheets, equipment laid out neatly. Monitoring leads already unwrapped, but no patient assigned. One room stood out, room 417. It wasn't ICU or anything critical, just a regular med-surg room. It stayed empty the entire time I worked nights, yet it always looked ready. I asked a nurse about it once. She checked her tablet and said it was pending. Pending what, she didn't know. There was no name, no case number, just pending arrival. I stopped going into that room. Another pattern appeared after that. Every night, just after 2 a.m., the hospital changed. Before then, there were footsteps, carts, voices echoing through the halls. After that hour, the human noise disappeared all at once. Machines still ran. Monitors still beeped. But it felt like the building itself was holding its breath. One night during that quiet period, I heard movement from an empty room. The sound of fabric shifting. A bed creaking slightly. I told myself it was the building settling. Then I looked at the board. Room 417 had updated. Not with a name, just a time. 2:17. No one had accessed the system. No log entry. The timestamp was just there. Over the next few nights, I noticed more things. The bed in 417 would be adjusted, supplies restocked, equipment repositioned. Once a nurse asked me if I'd prepped the room. I hadn't. She checked the records. No one had. She said it was probably housekeeping, even though housekeeping didn't work overnight. Neither of us said that part out loud. What disturbed me most was how often the room turned out to be needed. Patients would arrive unexpectedly, and 417 would already be perfect. IV ready. Bed height correct. Monitoring equipment calibrated. Everyone called it efficiency. I thought about reporting it, but I didn't even know how to explain what was wrong. One night, I stayed late finishing notes. When I looked up, the hospital was completely quiet. I checked the board without thinking. Room 417 was marked occupied. No name, no vitals, just an active status and a running timer. I didn't go to the room. By morning, the status was gone. No discharge, no transfer, no record it had ever been occupied. That was when I requested to be taken off night rotations. No one questioned it. On my final overnight shift, I walked past room 4171 last time. The door was open. The room was empty. The bed was lowered. The leads were ready. It felt like I'd arrived late. I still work in medicine. I just don't work anywhere that stays awake while the rest of the world sleeps. Because some hospitals don't wait for patients. They expect them